let me give you, first of all, the best. There's a lot of definitions of mindfulness. I used to have an overhead, and we could, but I want you to write this down. This definition is by a gentleman named John Kabat. That's K-A-B Zinn. It sounds like he's some. He's an American, lives in New England. But that's his last name, is John Kabat Zinn, and he's probably written as much of the Americans who've written about this. He's probably written as much as anybody has, and he said this: mindfulness involves intentionally doing one thing at a time. Mindfulness involves intentionally doing one thing at a time and making sure. Mindfulness involves intentionally doing only one thing at a time and making sure I'm here for it. Mindfulness involves intentionally doing only one thing at a time and making sure I'm here for it. So, to put that in other words, what it means is consciously showing up in the moment with what is. Putting our focus on what's happening here and now, as opposed to what might happen in the future, or how we perceived that it happened in the past. In other words, keeping our mind on our experience, on our reality. One writer who really got this, he said, and write this down because this is cool. He said, notice what you're noticing. Mindfulness means noticing what you're noticing. Now, for some of you, this might be a totally kind of an idea that's never crossed your mind. I get that. It hadn't mine until that day where it was a conscious effort to place my mind here and now. And why would I ever do that? How do we... Let's use some examples to help us understand kind of the mindfulness versus the not mindful. When you're getting ready to take a test, or even when you're taking a test, what is it about the test that is creating any anxiety? Of the outcome. Is the outcome happening while you're taking the test? What did you say?
I just said the worry of
Yeah.
people.
Whenever you're thinking of the test by itself couldn't possibly be stressful, correct? We've gone through this. So we put our minds, the stress of the test is, man, if, and the if is future looking, if I don't do well, bad things will happen. Our body doesn't recognize that they're not happening now. Our body doesn't know a future. Our physiology, not our frontal lobes, because that's our imagining, but the rest of our body, the endocrine system, the nervous system, they are only able to experience now. And so when you include ever a thought of, oh my gosh, or ooh, I wish, your body thinks it's happening now. We've gone through this before, right? So the whole point of mindfulness is to put ourselves here and stay there. consciously. You can only think of one thing at a time. You can't have two simultaneous thoughts. You can think about a lot of things peripherally, but you can only focus on one thing at a time. So if you're focusing on here and now, you can't simultaneously focus on the past or the future. So the whole goal of being mindful is to fill up our awareness with what is happening here and now. Why would we do that? Did I say that? I know we're kind of losing some of you because I've been talking way too long. The whole goal of being mindful is filling up our awareness with what is happening here and now. Why would we do that? If you can only think of one thing at a time. Right. If you can only think of one thing at a time and those thoughts are always focused on here and now and there's no stress here and now because there's no perceived threat, you've just won the stress lottery. You've just figured out the solution to, this is why I say with plenty of confidence, stress is 100% preventable. Because all we have to do is be mindful. All we have to do is put our awareness here. No matter what test you're taking, no matter how important that person is who you're calling up, no matter what that spider looks like, 100% preventable.